Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Okay, let me start by apologizing for not being able to start the class on time. I'm very sorry. I was traveling, so I got held up a bit in traffic, but I've arrived. So we have lost over almost 15, 16 minutes. Edwin, I've made your co-host, so continue admitting your colleagues as we move on. So without wasting much time, I know last time we had a good time talking about the concept of value addition. And I believe I did justice to the business of value addition by giving you the two examples I gave you. One that was of Magadi Soda, and I also gave you another one of service organization. And so today I want to move on and talk about current issues in operations management. These issues shape the knowledge which a professional will need actually to have or build around himself or herself when you are discharging the duties of an operations manager. One is coordinating the relationships between mutually supportive but separate organizations. And by this we mean when we are running operations, one of the things you're going to discover is that you will not be able to deliver to your final customer, produce and deliver to your final customer alone. It is because that in the value chain, there are so many other intermediaries. So you will produce, somebody else may distribute, another one may transport, etc., etc. And because of that, which is actually the current trend, then it will mean that you manage the distributor, you also manage the transporter and any other intermediary you may be talking about. There before, farms were talking about vertical integration. If you are producing, you buy a distributor. If they are not doing well, you also have your own trucks and you are distributing, you are moving your own products so that you are in control. That is no longer the business anymore. Reason being, one, you want to take advantage of special expertise which your farm may not have, or number two, it may be too expensive for you to grow capacity to serve yourself, because if it is transportation, you are employing your own drivers, your own trucks, you're insuring them, and they are not moving cargo every other day. So why would you then buy these particular trucks? Then if there is no business, then it increases your business risk in terms of flexibility of your cost base. So you want a situation where you don't have orders, you contract immediately, you release transportation capacity you are not using to the owners, and you are able to reduce your cost base. That explains why somebody producing may not want to distribute, and they may also not want to transport their final product. And so because of that current way of doing business, you need now to coordinate how to work with the distributor, how to work with the transporter, and any other. And so I've given you a few points there. One is dramatic surge in outsourcing of parts and services. These parts there before were produced internally. Now it is not the same way as it used to be. You are outsourcing because you want to concentrate on your core business, because somebody else may be cheaper than you, they may have special technology which you may not have, etc. Then breed of contract manufacturers that will specialize in performing focused manufacturing activities. Like look at Intel. Intel is a classic example of a contract manufacturing firm which deals with microprocessor chips. It is easy for Intel to produce these microprocessor chips for most of the companies which produce laptops, desktops, etc., etc. So that is common in countries of Asia, especially China, India, Taiwan, etc. Then companies are also considering outsourcing other major corporate functions. We are seeing organizations outsourcing information systems, accounting, HR, product development, packaging, quality testing, etc. So you have to manage all those organizations. And that is why, from an operation standpoint, it's important for you to coordinate the relationships between separate but mutually supportive organizations. That is the first issue, a current issue. Then optimizing global supplier production and distribution networks. Why are we saying this is a current issue? It's no longer the right way to do business in terms of doing it in your home country alone. You are looking at other countries where you can actually locate your enterprises, and this will actually maximize your shareholders' value. So you find a multinational operating in Africa, in Middle East, in Europe, in America, in Southern America, all over. And so if your presence all over, then the question is, how do you get optimal production? Optimal, we mean you minimize your cost globally, you maximize your revenues globally, and therefore the end result is overall profit maximization for the entire farm. How do you achieve that when one farm is in Kenya, the other one is in Cairo, the other one is in Peru? These organizations are dealing with different currencies, different management styles. So the only way to do this is the first point there, implementation of global enterprise resource planning systems, so that when you implement these global enterprise resource planning systems, it's able to mass all this data from different countries seamlessly, translate this particular information like currencies into common metrics, times into comparable times, or any other, or quality, or any other. And then you try to find out the best way to do business so that you can actually maximize your profits. And more importantly, then, when you're having a global enterprise, where do you control this enterprise from? Are you going to have your head office in England? Is it going to be in Africa? Where is it going to be? And so autonomy should actually be established. And that is actually autonomy of these organizations, which are independent or which are subsidiaries, as well as also having a joint control, is actually of essence to the management of the organization. The next issue is increased co-production of goods and services. Increased co-production. And what I mean by co-production is you and the customer producing the good or the service the customer is going to consume simultaneously. So if, for example, it's a bank, then we are saying, if I want a loan, that loan service, there are things I'm going to do. I get into either an application, I log in, I provide some information, I do some attachments there, I submit, I do my bit, okay? Then I program my repayments, everything, because it's me who wants, by the 10th of the month, I want to be paying my loan by the 10th of the month. It is not going to be the way we were doing business there before. Somebody setting the date for you. If you set it as 20th, the bank knows that by every 20th, this customer is okay with that. We'll program our system to recover the money. If the money is not there, we'll be able to charge a penalty. So we are saying it's a current issue to know how to involve customers in the production process, so that I'm involved in designing my own product. I'm involved in packaging my own product, deciding the color of the car I want, the interior fittings, the clothes, the decors I want in my car when it is being produced. These are things which are now happening. And so we're saying the internet has opened new ways for the customer to interact directly with the farm, so that you can give me proposals of interior seat designs of my car. You tell me we have all these 4 or 5 varieties. Can you choose the one you want to have in your car? Okay. Then service is the same. Then simple direct entry and monitoring of orders is now possible. So that I place my order, I track it, I modify it. If there's any modification I want, your work is to just manage something we call frozen time zones. There's a time I cannot change. There's a time I can change. So the time is not frozen. Another time it's not. It's actually frozen. I can't change anything in that particular order. Then we're saying now we have to intelligently use information technology. And when we do this, we'll then shed some layers of customer-oriented functions which will lead to inefficiencies in our farm. For example, this business of calling customer care so that you can get assistance on something and you want to talk to somebody. It is very expensive to a lot of enterprises, the likes of GoTV, the likes of StarTimes, Zuku, Safaricom, Airtel, etc. Because look at the 12, 15 million customers you have. If you are to speak to just 5% of that in a day who have issues, how much time do you require? And consequently, what is the level of labor force you need to have? It's going to be very expensive to you as a business. So in increased customer call production, you program the help menu. The one we have star 100 hash, star 544 hash. So I follow a menu-driven application to be able to use it as a service platform to be able to help me get the service I want from you. I have to be diligent. I have to understand the language. I have to have a device to be able to interact. And this is very important in customer call production. And this is what is happening. It's a current issue. We have to empower some of the customers who may seem challenged so that they can actually be empowered to serve themselves. Then something else is managing customer touch points. It's a current issue because farms want to be super efficient. So our customer care staff, how many of them are we going to have? So companies want to strike a balance between, should I have a lot of customer care personnel or should I have less customer personnel and deploy a lot of this particular help on some automated platforms? But you need to realize this. Some of the customers will not get assistance from automated helplines. So you need to have an intelligent system which can actually be able to sort customer requests and know for customer A, you have to talk to them. Customer B, you can allow them to use an online service system and they're comfortable with that. Or they can use it up to limit C, D, and then from E, F, I can now allow them to call customer care representatives. We're saying making resource utilization decisions must capture the implicit cost of lost customers as well as the direct cost of staffing. You need to know this. There are some of the customers you're going to lose because you don't want to talk to them direct. You want them to use customer service helplines, but they are not able to get the help they want from the helpline. So what do? They'll definitely at one point say, this particular organization is not sensitive to customer needs because it is too difficult to talk to customer care. I can close either my account or my whatever it is with them and open with another account, which has another account with another firm, which has a better customer service interface where I can actually be able to meet a service provider and I can actually explain my issues out. Okay. Then another current issue is raising senior management awareness of operations as a significant competitive weapon. What are we saying? There are so many farms which still don't place operations where it should be in an organization. They still believe that it is a lowly placed function in a business. It doesn't require skilled people. You may not even need to employ people who have specialized in operations because to you, it is not critical in running of the business, okay? But we're saying it's a current issue now to talk to the MD of where you work and tell them, or the general manager of the organization you work for, whether it is in private sector or public sector, and tell them, for University of Nairobi to run well, to be a premier university in the world, it has to embrace the discipline of operations management. Create, for example, the position of Chief Operating Officer of the university, who will actually oversee all the operations of the university and manage them professionally. So know that is a current issue. So many executives entered many organizations through finance strategy, and they build their career up and they became CEOs. But we are saying now, a number of organizations, for example, in Bullet 2 there, Toyota, Dell, Taco Bell, Southwest Airlines, have creatively used operations management for competitive advantage. And the meaning of this is they are promoted chief operating officers to be MDs. And these MDs have led to a total turnaround of these organizations, which previously had been run by CEOs who were former finance managers or former finance directors or former marketing directors. So raising senior management awareness of operations as a significant competitive weapon is actually critical. So as I wind up, I need to throw up some other points quickly so that I get to the business of today. And so the other points I need to throw in are there: speeding up the time it takes to get new products into production. Remember, I told you that customer needs are not static. Taste and preferences will change over time. And so if they are changing over time, the next thing you need to do is to come up with new products. But the market will not give you all the time under the sun to develop new products. This information will leak out. And when it leaks out, then a competitor will definitely launch a new product earlier than you and skim the cream of the market in terms of pricing before you launch. So if you get into the business of a new product, do that quickly and deliver it to the marketplace. Then developing flexible production systems to enable mass customization of products and services. Customers want to be unique. However, you cannot produce a unique product to every customer. So what you need to do is to come up with a flexible production system, which you can configure, reconfigurable systems, which you can easily customize. And when you customize them, you ramp them up to be able to produce that particular variety en masse within a short time. So that the need of this customer in Kenya, which could be similar to another need in Uganda, in Zaire, in Togo, they have produced several products that you can supply to customers elsewhere. And then you flex, come up with another sort of variety which was required by another customer, then mass customize it for also others who are like that particular customer. And managing global production networks, that we have mentioned in a way. Developing and integrating new production technologies into existing production systems. We are having customers send a lot of images by Instagram, those are technologies, Facebook, WhatsApp, and these ones can actually be tied to a production system. So how do we, for example, process an image from a WhatsApp message sent to our production system by a customer saying, that is the picture of the product I want? How can the system quickly pick that image and process that image to form information which gets into our ordering process straight away without human intervention? That is key because technologies are developing and they are changing every other day. Then achieving high quality quickly. If things go wrong, customers will not give you all the time under the earth. They'll expect that you restore. Look at power failure. If there's power blackout or if there's internet connectivity, which is a challenge, we are saying, if you don't work on this very quickly, then the meaning is very simple. At these particular customers who are not able to call, they are not able to access internet, they are quickly going to, if a number of you are like me, I have My phone is dual SIM. So if I switch internet here, it is not stable. I switch the other side, it's not stable. It's stable. I now maintain where I should maintain if I'm working from a remote location. If I call this particular network and my calls are not stable or they are not going through quickly, I call the other network. And so if you have an issue in terms of quality, you have to resolve it very quickly and keep it up. And the next is managing a diverse workforce. You can write the diversity in terms of age. Age, some people very receptive to new technologies, ICT, for example, flexible production systems, okay, digitalized production. Others who are born before computers, they are resisting change. They are very experienced. You need them. They are high-class designers, but they can't use some of the software packages you have bought. Managing diverse workforce in terms of gender, okay? Not only gender, marital status. Some are gay, others married, others single parents. Their needs are different, okay? Managing diverse workforce in terms of language. Some of them who may not be speaking English and they're working in Kenya. They don't understand Kiswahili. They're working in Kenya. And the story goes on and on. Religious affiliations. Some of them are Seventh-day Adventists. They don't want to work on Saturday. Others are Muslims. They don't want to work on Friday because it's their worship day, Christian Sunday. And you have to program these people to do shift work. How do you manage that? It's currently a current issue. Very critical. Okay. And then conforming to environmental constraints, because we are talking about global warming, carbon dioxide emissions, waste water, waste oil disposal, etc., government regulations. And these ones, when they change, we have to change and conform to them. Ethical standards like child labor, okay, which is very critical. Now we are talking about paternity leave and maternity leave. Men have not been given a fair share in terms of paternity leave. I get a baby, I'm given a shorter period of leave than my counterpart, who is a female. Why? And I'm also a parent like any other. I think I'm okay with that. So being okay with that, it's important then now to summarize number 2 by asking a simple question. Why is operations management so important? And I'll tell you, operations management is important because of the following 4 reasons, which I have put on this particular slide. Number 1, operations management is important because if you use the knowledge in operations well, obviously, cost of producing goods and services will be low because you'll be efficient. You know how not to waste water, how not to waste space, electricity, man hours, machine hours, etc., etc. By the end of the day, you'll definitely be producing at a lower cost than your competitors. Number 2, it can increase revenue by increasing customer satisfaction through good quality and service. When you understand the next topic we are going into, and the topic of OM and competitiveness, we are saying if you pursue quality well, you produce goods and services that meet the taste of customers. Definitely, meeting needs of customers well will mean that these customers, once they are happy, they will keep on buying your products and services and you make more money. Simple. We're saying it can reduce the amount of investment. And this amount of investment is also called capital employed by increasing the effective capacity of the operation. And by being innovative, now it uses its physical resources. Sometimes, assuming that you are in transportation, you may end up buying trucks, and you are just buying these particular trucks on loan and not caring. If I have a fleet of 100 trucks, what is actually the utilization of my current fleet? A very simple question. You don't bother with that. And then you continue buying other trucks, employing more drivers because you lack some key understanding of the issues in operations management. And if you add all the issues are well known in operations, the first question before you buy a new truck you'll ask is, what is the utilization of the current fleet of 100 trucks? If somebody tells you it is 60%, you tell them, wait a minute, and you want me to sink money to employ more, to put in more investment in trucks? Not me. Why? Let's increase the utilization of the current fleet beyond 60 to 80 to 90. Then we can think about buying new trucks. So it can reduce the amount of investment, working capital, by increasing effective capacity of the operation, by being innovative, coming up with new ways of doing the same thing, which you take either less resources because the processes are faster, etc. Then it can provide basis for future innovation by building a solid base of operational skills and knowledge within the business. So if business is to grow, it needs innovative minds. So operations opens up our minds, builds skills within our staff to actually be innovative, to drive the organization better. So I want to move on to the business of today. The business of today, I want to talk about operations management and competitiveness. This is now supposed to be my lecture 3. If I'm done with these 3 lectures, then I know I only need to do another 2 lectures, and my class is due for Rakat. So this, I believe this is our 4th, is it our 4th class? I don't exactly know, but I think it should be our 4th class. So if this is our 4th class, I only need to do a 5th class, a 6th class, then from week 7 or week 8 thereabout, we can do our CAT precisely. I need to teach location and I need to teach capacity. Location and capacity will require 3 sessions. So 3 sessions from now, we'll be able to do a CAT. And remember that the CAT goes hand in hand with the assignment, which we agreed. So you should be reading about the assignment now. If you want to know the assignment, Edwin shared the course outline with you. It is highlighted in the course outline, the topic you need to read. I indicated that for the purposes of the assignment, you need to read, make notes, you can have your online discussions, and then once you are done, you are now ready to face the one question during the CAT time. When you answer the questions I'll set, then I'll know you did the homework or the assignment I gave. So we say, in operations management and competitiveness, the degree to which a firm can produce goods and services that meet the test of international markets, while this particular firm is able to expand or maintain the wealth of the shareholders, it's actually very important. Very important. And that is what we call operations management and competitiveness. Now, when you are in Kenya, I don't know the international news channels you watch. I use that as an example. Al Jazeera, France 24, CNN, BBC World News. Now, which out of the 4 main international news channels are you watching? Now, don't answer me, but this is what I'm saying. If, for example, you are a fan of Al Jazeera like me, because me, I switch between Al Jazeera and the BBC World News. I'm not a fan of CNN. I'm not a fan of France 24. I can't tell you why, but I watch the two I've talked about. So look at the number of adverts this particular organization is able to get out of the viewership, which is international, because they designed a news channel which can meet the test of international markets. Look at our local television channels, the likes of KTN News, Citizen News, etc. Are they watched in America? They are watched. I'm not talking about diaspora community. I'm talking about an American watching KTN News, because KTN News is actually international. Give you more examples. Look at organizations like Facebook, Google. Many of us who own a Gmail account do Google Meet, like the one we are doing now. They even don't know the headquarters of Google. They don't know where it is based on earth, who are the directors, who are the principal shareholders, who are the founders. But what they know is that there is a service delivered by Google Search, Google Gmail, Google Contacts, Google Classroom, Google Meet, which I enjoy and derive serious benefit. And it has helped my organization. It has helped me achieve a lot of things, work-wise, class-wise, etc. Talking about producing goods and services that meet the test of international markets. Look at our M-Pesa. Somebody in America, a European coming to Kenya telling you, I'm paying you by M-Pesa. When I hear that, I say, wow, great. At least for the first time. Europeans, Britons, Chinese, no, even in China, there's something in Kenya called M-Pesa, and you can pay through M-Pesa. That is a service that meets the test of international markets. You need to appreciate the only reason that I need to cover a topic like this is actually to grow you as scholars, as the managers of today and tomorrow, to shape the organizations you work, both public and private, to be in a position to produce goods and services that meet the test of international markets. And so it is not possible for you to be able to do this if you don't appreciate the business of competitive priorities. So organizations which then compete in the global front, they are able to embrace the priorities listed before you. One, they are able to compete on cost, which will say more, or quality, or both. They are able to deliver with flexibility. More importantly, with speed, what we call time-based competition. These organizations are reliable. They will promise to deliver to you today, and they will deliver to you today at the time promised. They will cope with changes in demand. Customers have high orders today, tomorrow they have less orders. So what do? You need to move up and down depending on these particular customers. And more importantly, they embrace flexibility when it comes to new product introduction. So they will not continue producing the same old product, when actually they know that the customers are not happy with this old product. They'll keep on modifying. Look at Toyota. For Toyota, any model you know, it has changed. You can trace the history of, if today you are seeing Fielder, if you go to Toyota, they'll tell you Fielder used to be this in 1990, it was this in 1980, it was this in 1970. When you talk about Land Cruiser, Prado, They will also they'll show you Land Cruiser of 2020, Land Cruiser of 2010, Land Cruiser of 2000. And these Land Cruisers will definitely look different. That is flexibility in new product introduction by speed. Let me start with the first one. When you are competing on cost, you will be the lowest cost producer. In short, you'll be the lowest cost producer. In the sector or in the industry you're operating, and the consequence of that is that if we all set the same price and I'm the lowest cost producer, then I'm making a lot of margin than you. So if I'm making a lot of profit than you, I'll get a lot of money to invest in the same organization, grow huge capacities to be able to serve customers better, and I will definitely knock you out of the market because of my sheer size. Bigger capacities are cheap. I invest in bigger capacities, I'm cheaper than you, continue to be cheaper than you, make more profit, I will eliminate you from the market. 2, when you are competing on cost, the story is also different when it comes to what we call price wars. Price wars. In price wars, or what we call in marketing, cutthroat competition. Cutthroat competition creates what we call red oceans. Oceans where you slaughter each other and only one farm may be left surviving. Okay, so who is going to survive? Who will slaughter the others and in the long run be a monopoly in that particular industry or sector? This is the farm which has the lowest cost possible. You reduce price, I reduce price. You reduce price, I reduce price. You reach a point where if you reduce further, you start making losses because your production cost is quite high. But me, I'll continue reducing because my production cost is too low. And when you're out of the market, I can now increase the price to be able to make super margins. So do this. Number 1 there on this particular slide, eliminate all wastes. Could be waste of space, time, motion, inventory, processing, manpower, water, etc. Eliminate. Don't waste space. There is no need of renting more space than you require. Don't waste processing time and power. If something is ready, it is ready. Don't continue over processing it. You are milling flour at Unga, at Soko. Don't continue milling. You have already gotten the right particle size of the flour you want to pack. Don't continue processing it further because you are using energy, time. And that is going into your cost basket. It will make your goods more expensive in the marketplace. And you'll not survive. And number 2, we are saying, invest in updated facilities and equipment. Why? New technologies are faster, cheaper in production. They produce better products, services. Customers are happier. So they will say, me then, I will be buying from this particular farm, which is able to deliver MBCD than the other farm. Streamline operations, balance capacities, train, develop people. Because when they have better skills to do work, they'll actually facilitate in your cost reduction and you'll be able to compete on cost. Number 2, compete on quality. I want to remind you that I said this. Quality is conformance to customer requirements and expectations. Conformance to customer requirements and expectations. Okay? And so, when we conform to what customers want, they'll definitely buy our offer. And we'll be able to make money as a firm. So how do you impress the gospel of quality? Number 1, please the customer by doing things right. If I tell you pack in dozens, do exactly what I've told you. If they have said deliver before the end of the day, deliver before the end of the day. If they are saying you need to have your offices manned by qualified personnel at your help desk, do exactly that. When I come to your office, I need to find qualified persons manning the help desks. And I may also leave that organization as a customer because of that. The next is understand customer attitudes towards and expectations of quality. What is the attitude of? Like, as we say, when it comes to quality learning, students' attitudes are funny because if I get an A in a course, then it was quality course. But you can get an A and you don't know much in the course. But that is the attitude of many learners. Me, a course, I would say it was a quality course in instruction. If I got an A in that particular course, otherwise the course is not quality. Attitudes, expectations. Quality reduces cost of output. Why? Because of things we call internal failure and external failure cost. That one you need to document somewhere. Internal failure is when an item fails the quality test within the organization, and then we can't release it to a customer. External failure is where we are not able to detect something, and we release the item to the marketplace. And then the first person to probably buy that particular item, they now complain, oh, this is exploding, this is doing MBCD. That is what we call external failure cost. We say if you're able to manage your production well, nothing will fail before when you are producing and when you release the output to the market. Lastly, quality increases dependability. When are we dependable? When we can say, I told you I will deliver tomorrow and be certain that I will actually deliver. And tomorrow at exactly 7 a.m., you deliver. So you are dependable. Why? Because yesternight, you did not run the plant and produced maybe 50% non-conforming. So you repeat the orders again. When you repeat the orders again, it means your master production schedule has to be interfered with. So some of the customers' orders will definitely be delayed. If they are delayed, you are not dependable. That is what I can say. So at exactly 1901, I want to give you your 10 minutes break, and then we can proceed. Is that in order?
Yes.
Great. I guess our break is now over, and I wanted to carry on, but before that, I can see Gamma Yare has raised his hand up, so I want to give him an opportunity to say something. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Is Gamma Yare able to speak up? Maybe you are muted, Gamma. I want to proceed kindly. Okay. Then I can ignore that for now, and then you carry on with the presentation. So I want to move to the next slide, which is competing on flexibility. Confirm that I've moved to the next slide on flexibility.
No, we are not able to see your presentation.
Okay, let me reload it then. So now it's okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the third in terms of priorities is actually competing on flexibility. And when you talk about flexibility, it is actually the ability to alter production to produce more or less variety, more or less volume, or produce at different times of the day, either too early or late in the evening, Saturdays, Sundays, public holidays, while you were not even in your plans, you don't produce during such times. And all this is done in line with the changes in customer demand. I repeat, when you are competing on flexibility, the farm will be able to alter or change its capacity to be able to produce either different products or produce different volumes or produce at different times of the day or during different times of the week, whether they are holidays or on Sundays. And all this is done in line with changes in customer demand. And this will make some of the customers give you business, because me, I will say, I can't apply for a loan any other day. I'm only off duty on Sunday. I work in a bank. I work up to Saturday, and this is the only time I can actually visit your facility. So if you are open on Sunday, tell me, I'll come. Then you say, okay, because we have been having these kinds of requests, why don't we put in a Sunday when customers can actually see us and we sell to them? Or another customer will tell you, if you are able to open at 7 a.m., a number of us will be able. Now, actually, in Nairobi, I remember there is a time the accountants introduced what they call early morning classes. Because some of us used to arrive quite early in town because of traffic jam, and you are there waiting in your car for 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. So some institutes introduced what they call early morning classes, starting at around 6:30 to 8 or thereabout. And then you go to work. And that is what we are talking about in terms of flexibility. In other words, when you are able to alter production that way, you may be able to woo some business, which somebody else who is not flexible that way cannot actually woo. So I've given you a number of points there. Produce a wide variety of products. If I don't want to buy this, I can buy the other. And you'll be able to make money out of the many varieties. Look at Toyota, look at Samsung, look at LG. They produce washing machines, computers, vacuum cleaners, many, many things. And if you're not making money on a washing machine, you're making money on a laptop, you're making money on a TV set, etc. Introduce new products. Be flexible to know that customer needs are not static. Research. Come up with something new. And that it may be that something new which is going to make you make more money. More importantly, introduce or modify existing products quickly. Omo, which still has a substantial market share in Kenya, is a detergent which some of us used when we were born. I remember hearing Omo Mama Safi many years ago when I was young. Then we went on New Blue Omo. Then we went on Omo Multi-Active. I'm not able to remember today. We call it Omo what, but it is Omo, I don't know, 14 days of freshness or how many days of freshness. So that is an example of a product which has been modified quickly many times, and it has kept pace with the market requirements and needs. Respond to customer needs. In terms of flexibility, some of our needs may look weird. We may go out of our way to request this or the other. But before you condemn us, before you think that we are mad, seek to understand why we have such a need, either to be served late in the night at 9 p.m. and then respond, because you are there to make money. That is competing on flexibility. And a classic example is, the loaning market. I remember one of you said last week that she's a banker. But can I tell you, I took a very long time to take a loan from a bank. Because as we joined the labor market, there were just a few banks in Kenya, which were key. These banks were Kenya Commercial Bank, as it used to be called at that time, not KCB Bank. Barclays, then what you now call ABSA, and then Standard Chartered Bank. There were others, but those were the main banks. But let me tell you, Equity, I think, was still there. And Cooperative was still there. But let me tell you, these banks, the kind of collateral they were asking was quite out of reach for many of us. Title deeds, logbooks, we did not own cars, we did not own land, and we wanted loans to do development, to buy property, but we could not secure these loans because of lack of sufficient collateral. So banks like Equity came on board, and they introduced flexibility in loan collateral. They brought in the idea of non-secured loans, where you can just use your salary and you get a loan and you move on. Where you can actually have a collateral like evidence of order you are actually delivering somewhere. You have been given a tender. That particular tender is a source of revenue. So that tender you can actually use it as collateral, because I can believe that if I finance you, you do this work to get money, and the money you are going to get, you'll be able to pay me. That flexibility changed the banking market significantly, and it is what we are able to enjoy even up to today. Then competing on speed, time-based competition. You deliver quickly. What is the rationale behind competing on speed? And I'll talk about it from two fronts. One, I'll talk about it from a service sector perspective. When we compete on speed, just get a very simple example. I'm unwell, and I move out of my house going to an hospital. This could be Nairobi Hospital or Aga Khan or Jamaa Mission Hospital or Avenue, name them, you know them, or Mata. Then when I just arrive, I go through the nurse desk, my temperature is taken, my pressure, what, and within the next 5 minutes, I'm already at the consultation area and I'm seeing my doctor. If there were tests to be done, in 10 minutes time, I'm at the lab. The lab is able to release my results to my doctor within another 15, 20 minutes. In record 1 hour, I'm treated and I'm ready to go home. What is the implication of that? Now compare another hospital. It could also be of the same class. A file is taken to the nurse and it takes 20 minutes. The nurse will take around another 15 minutes to call me for temperature checks, pressure checks. Then there is a long queue because the doctors are few. So I take another 1 hour waiting for the doctor. When I go to the lab, the capacity is insufficient. The lab technicians are few. My results take another 4 hours, or I need maybe to come for them the following day. Look at those two organizations. Which one will actually be preferred? It is the first one. Reason being, I'm able to go to the hospital, probably after going to the hospital, go shopping, go pick my child from school, then arrive home on time, prepare dinner for them. Maybe I have a candidate who is sitting class 8, encourage them in the evening as they revise. But the other one, I would probably take the entire day in hospital and I'm back to my house at around 9 p.m. in the day because it's using a lot of time to do a very small activity. That is from a service sector perspective. I want to move on and talk about competing on speed from a manufacturing perspective. If you place an order with the Baburi Cement and they will only be able to deliver cement to you after 3 months, just an example, assuming that they are the only producer of cement, or assume they have a competitor, but you like buying from them, but they take such a long time, then you as a business person, by the time you place an order, you'll ensure you have a lot of stocks to last you the next 3 months. Now, if a competitor, you place an order today and you are able to have a delivery tomorrow, then you don't even have to keep stocks at all. You know, even by the time I clear the remaining 20 bags, the cement will have been delivered. So you don't tie a lot of your money in stocks. You're happy as a reseller. And that is what competing on speed means. So you are there on this particular slide, time-based competition. We're saying speed means the time which passes between customers requesting products or services and when they receive them. So I request cement now, I receive it after 3 months. I go for an haircut now. I go through the service after 3 hours. Normal service, just an haircut. I go to a bank now to apply for a loan. From now, I take another 5 hours to move out of the bank. That is what we're talking about. We're saying provide the most value to the customer at the lowest cost in the least amount of time. You don't have to serve me quickly so that you charge me a lot. I know there are organizations which charge a premium for fast service, but I'm getting to that in a later while. What we are saying is deliver cement quickly to me, deliver tea or ugali and fish to me in a restaurant quickly. I eat, I go back to the office, work, do more during the day, and don't have to overcharge me because of that. We're saying it's aimed at minimizing the time it takes to deliver a product or service to the customer. And more importantly, now I get to what I was saying, where we have Excel banking, prestige banking, and we have KCB Advantage and cooperative, is it executive? I don't know what they call it at cooperative bank, executive. I don't know what name you give it to equity. Allow me to use service sector examples. Now, when you are an Excel banking customer at Standard Chartered or Prestige at ABSA or KCB Advantage, you pay a small premium for that. But when you go to their banking halls, you quickly have a dedicated counter, you are served quickly, you disappear. So the last bullet there is saying, Rapid response enables companies to quickly redirect their value delivery systems to the most attractive customers. In other words, we are saying, where some of the customers may not require that high speed. And this high speed doesn't come without a cost, because it may mean that you deploy more personnel, it may mean you deploy more equipment, so it is at a cost. And so redirect the value delivery systems to the most attractive, most attractive customers, who will not shy away from paying an extra penny at times to be able to enjoy the benefits of high speed, because time is money for them. They have time constraint and they can actually pay a premium for that. Now, this is taken from, obviously, let me first of all take you to this. Look at what we have here. I've covered cost, quality, delivery, flexibility, time-based competition. I've not covered delivery, reliability, coping with changes in demand, for the interest of time. And again, I'm just using what I call generic terminologies. Now, in every sector, in every industry, there are specific industry terminologies you use when you are explaining what quality means, what speed means, or reliability, or what comes number one in that particular industry. I want to take you to this particular slide. I believe you are able to see this very clearly. And this particular slide is an excerpt from a past paper question, which was done by your predecessors a few years ago. I remember there's somebody who said, I look for a way of getting you some questions. I'm still trying to figure out how to go around that. I communicated to you that I lost my computer 2 weeks ago, and I'm trying to recover part of the information. And some amount of information is also in hard copies in my office. And now that we don't meet physically, sometimes it can also be a challenge, but I'm trying to find a way how I can probably throw in some past paper questions for your discussion so that it can actually help you in your learning. So the question was, what competitive priorities can you infer from the photograph? Trendy marks. If you look at this particular photo, it represents a KLM flight taken somewhere in a city. Actually, this is a city called Schiphol Airport in Netherlands. And this particular photograph, when I used it to test my students in this area of competitive priorities, a topic I always test most of the times in any exam, by the way, I required the students to earn for marks for a certain set of competitive priorities, another total 20 marks. So I want to open up for you to be able to say what competitive priorities you can actually infer from this particular photograph, and you support your answer. You can raise up your hand, then I'll be able to allow you to contribute. Somebody's raising up their hand. Are we in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me hear some suggestions from the floor. Just try, just attempt. This was a question of 20 marks. So Josephine again.
Okay, from the photo, I can see there is a competitive priority of time. Okay, when we compare the transport system, we may have road transport, water transport, and air transport. So when it comes to air, it's much faster and better than the road and water.
Mm-hmm. So is it time or delivery speed? Delivery.
I think it's
Delivery speed.
That's delivery speed.
Yeah, because also in the flights, some of them take a shorter time to the same destination. So one can say that I'm going to go by this particular flight because this one is 8 hours, the other one is 6 hours, and I'll be able to save delivery speed. Thank you, Josephine. Somebody else? Am I seeing Gamma Yare? Kinoti?
Yeah, I think they say air transport is the safest mode of transport. So I think it is the competitive advantage is that the goods are safe via air and like via the road.
Okay. Why are you not comparing airlines and saying that for any airline, when I choose to fly airline A as opposed to B, then safety to me will be a competitive priority. So talk about number of accidents per million miles of kilometers traveled by the fleet, entire fleet, so that you are comparing like to like. Okay, so safety is actually a competitive priority for the airline.
Okay.
Industry.
Could we add delivery reliability in terms of airlines? When you compare, for example, KLM and KQ, in terms of flights and delays, KQ, for example, tends to have more delays compared to KLM. Therefore, if you are maybe the customer, you'd prefer to transport your goods using KLM compared to maybe KQ.
So somebody was speaking on delivery something. Who was the person?
I was saying, could we say delivery reliability in terms of airlines? For example, when you compare KLM flying maybe your goods using KLM and KQ in terms of flight delays, KQ tends to have maybe more flight delays compared to KLM in terms of reliability.
That is quite correct, Edwin. So delivery reliability very key. Delivering you or your cargo to the destination as promised is actually a competitive priority. This one non-delays, the other one has delay, and this causes costs to clients because of the delays. Quite correct. Something else? Ochieng Bernard? Ochieng, kindly
Yes.
proceed.
Yes, I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
Can we talk about the for example the airline compared to the road transport when you carry the when you carry the perished goods, the goods that cannot last long. So if you are using the airline, your goods will reach faster and safer compared to both the water and the roads.
Again, I said I don't know why you want to compare air and road, because you know let me quite good contributions from the floor, but let me say this: competitive priorities are pursued by members of a certain industry, so they can compete against each other in that industry. Let me clarify that. So that if we are in cement manufacturing, we are now competing against each other. And the person who embraces these priorities becomes number one in that industry. So if it is in the airline industry, what competitive priorities make one airline position itself or herself as number one in the industry compared to the others? That is precisely what I'm actually looking for. And so to a number of you have provided quite excellent points with very good explanations. I want to sum up by saying this. My expectations as an examiner in this question was, number one, identify the businesses which are actually in this particular photograph, implied in this photograph. Like an identifier, number one, I'll identify airline business, moving cargo passengers. It's one of the businesses. Number two, I can actually also talk about a business implied here, which is aircraft assembly, because the aircraft itself, KLM, was actually assembled by a company like Boeing or Airbus or Embraer. And they also compete. Embraer, Airbus, Boeing, they compete. They compete on the basis of what competitive priorities. Then number three, I can also talk about cargo handling. Because if you look at the background of the photograph, you can see some cargo handling.
I cannot see the picture. It's not showing. I cannot see the slide.
You cannot see a screen. Can't see a screen.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes, now, yes.
Now, can you see the cargo handling equipment at the background expanded form? Yeah, so that is another business, which is cargo handling. Now, this particular flight has landed in a certain airport. So the airport authority becomes another separate entity altogether. We talk about Kenya Airports Authority. At Netherlands, they also have an authority. Some airlines would want to fly their flights into certain airports and not others because of certain competitive priorities. Now, we spent a lot of the time talking about airlines, which is okay. You talked about, number one, safety is number one. Okay, because if you find an airline has gotten involved in several, you remember the Ethiopian air crash, which killed a number of Kenyans. When an airline has frequently gotten involved in flight accidents, fatal flight accidents, the number of customers reduce. So one of the key competitive priorities, and remember I said, the names I used in the slide I've used to teach are generic names, general. But in every specific industry, there are the right terminologies for that industry, which you actually make use of. So safety could be number one. Number two could be delivery reliability. Okay. Then you could have something else like cost. Why? Because there are some of us who don't like booking. They want, if for example, they are not time bound in traveling. They just go to the airport and they compare this airline, same destination. who is cheaper. We call it, they practice something we call yield management. Just write somewhere in your notebook, yield management. Try to find out, Google search, what yield management in when you are running airline businesses actually refer to. And you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about. And my point is...
Sorry, could you repeat that term? Is it yield management or...
Yes, yield from the word, what is the yield of your farm? And it is a common terminology when it comes to managing the business of airlines. So if I explain this a little bit, if you book a flight 2 weeks from now, you are likely to pay more than the person who will go to the airport today on the day of travel. And the reason being, you, the person who booked quite early, you are assured of traveling. And because you are assured of traveling, it's like that particular capacity is already packed up for you. Now, this other particular person who is coming on the day of travel is actually one finding an aircraft which is already booked to fly and which must fly, whether it is full or not. So the airline management will say, okay, we'll fly whether we are full or not. So how do we maximize the seat utilization? To lower the prices for the last minute travelers so that we can pack in more passengers, because we already have some base numbers who paid quite a lot of money 2 weeks in advance, 1 week in advance. And so that is why some people want to travel cheaply, know the business of traveling to the airport, and then they scout around for the cheapest airline and they travel. So you may be going China, return 130, and me, I'm going China, return 90,000 shillings, and difference of 40,000 shillings. And that is a lot of, that is a lot of money, okay? I was just trying to explain that the cost, competing on cost, who is cheaper than the other, is actually very critical. Forget about even the business of yield management. And then the quality of in-flight services, the kind of meals you are given, the types of the communication, the courtesy of the air hostess, etc., etc. Very important. Okay? Now, I can pick another extra one business out of the businesses I've talked about and say more about this business. And what I want to pick is actually airport services or airport authorities. When airlines plan to fly into this airport, the other and not another one, there's always a reason. And this reason could be as a result of the following competitive priorities. Number one, is the airport secure? Security. Now we are talking about picking the wrong characters on board, terrorists. People can hijack your flight. So if you know the airport management has not put in stringent measures to ensure security, then you don't fly into that particular airport. So security of an airport becomes critical as a competitive priority when you are competing. Kenya Airports Authority is competing against Uganda Airports Authority, Tanzania, and then also London Authority, New York, name it. Okay. Number two, something else we call landing costs. Very critical, which is a function of the time you're going to stay and the weight of the aircraft in terms of size. So the bigger the aircraft, the more you stay, the more you pay. So for some airports, the charges are lower, the taxes are lower. For other airports, it's a lot of money. And this reflects in your pricing structure of your ticket, which on the other hand will make passengers see you as a costly airline because of the other added costs. And you can move on. The other competitive priority of airports authorities become turnaround time. If I land at Jomo Kenyatta Airport now, what is my turnaround time? In other words, how long am I going to take there doing ground maybe onboarding, and then disembarking of the passengers and onboarding of others, transfers, etc. How long am I going to take? Turnaround of 1 hour. You go to other airports, because of congestion, maybe turnaround is 2 to 3 hours. Cumulatively, if your flights are flying into airports which are congested, they will lose so much travel time per year. And that will reflect in the number of journeys you'll be able to do by the end of the year, which will be less. Speaking to the revenue you are able to make as an airline, that is critical in terms of management. I say when we are talking about operations, it's a practical business. There's nothing theoretical in this particular course. And you need to be able to connect this knowledge with what you do on a day-to-day basis. I think I've just tried to, with also your assistance, try to find out the answers I expected, so that you can get even an online exam, which some of us say that this one no problem, I'm able to copy, and you copy the wrong things. By the way, me, I tell students, even if you get an online exam, try to do it. Don't copy anything. You may copy, and that is me. I'm not looking for what you are copying. I'm looking for what you're able to understand and explain in a very simple way, by the way. I want to take you to the next. So when it comes to competitive operations management and competitiveness, you need to understand you can only be competitive also if you have high productivity. High productivity. What is productivity? The ratio of output to input. Put it simply, if I put in a shilling as input in a farm, what is my output? As simple as that. My output could be another 1 shilling. So 1 shilling out 1 shilling. There is no profit in that kind of equation. 1 shilling is supposed to output either 1.5 to etc. Then you'll be able to talk about productivity. Productivity improves when a farm does a number of things. Number 1, when a farm becomes efficient, it's not wasting resources of space, resources of manpower, water, energy, etc. It will put in an hour of labor, and that 1 hour of labor, if it is valued at 100 bob, it will give us an output which will get 200 bob. So productivity will be 2 times the input, because it's 200 out of 100. So it is 2 times the input. Farms become efficient. Productivity improves when farms downsize. And I've always said this. When we are lecturing, we give you guides so that during your free time, you can Google, you can get articles on productivity, read, try to understand productivity as broadly as you can, because you are looking for knowledge. You are looking for knowledge. So once we get into a subtopic, we do a slide or 2, it then gives you the opportunity to dig deeper in terms of the content, the theory, and understand it more. When farms downsize, we say in operations, we are not so keen on right sizing, rather downsizing. Leanness. There's no point of having more equipment than you need, more staff than you need, more space than you need. Downsize. Struggle. I'm told this in Japan. MDs sit in offices which could measure not even 10 by 10 feet, maybe 6 by 5 feet, which is the size of a bed, 5 by 6 bed. That is an office of a CEO of a company. It has a desk, it has a visitor's chair, it has maybe a water dispenser. So space is squeezed, downsized. You're not paying a lot because space is expensive in Japan. Now, Kenya, We have a lot of space in our houses, in our offices, and we are still looking for more. And what we have, we are not even able to put into active use. When farms expand into new markets, you may need to speak to Equity Bank, which recently expanded its operations into DRC. And they will tell you that one of the markets which is making them excited is actually the DRC market. They're able to make bigger margins in the DRC market compared to any other market, maybe even the Kenyan market, because probably competition in the DRC market is less. When farms retrench, when farms achieve breakthroughs are sort of discoveries or innovative ideas which lead to superb products, which make you make a lot of money. When we want to talk about productivity, we can use a number of measures. One is partial measure, where you get your output, you divide by a single input. The other one is amount factor measure, which is output out of multiple inputs. And I want to confirm this. There's no way you can have inputs in absolute terms as a denominator in your computation. For example, you have kilowatts of energy and man hours of labor as two measures you want to calculate productivity for. Labor and energy. You can't combine kilowatts and man hours because that is like mixing maybe what and what. Maybe you are mixing soil and rocks. You see the rocks alone, the soil alone. Can't mix the two. They can't combine into one component. So how do you mix kilowatts and man hours? It is not possible. Mathematically, it can't work. So what do? You convert your kilowatts into money. The common denominator could be money. Kenya shillings, could be dollar, could be yen, whichever country you come from. Or Uganda shillings, for those of us who are coming from Uganda, or Tanzanian shillings. You convert the labor hours into a currency of some sort. You convert the kilowatts of energy into currency, equivalent currency of that particular country in terms of our consumption by the end of the planning period. And then now you put the money for kilowatts together with the money for labor, and you use that as the input measure. Now, for the output measure, it can remain units throughout or shillings, depending on what you are given. Then the output measure follows suit. Again, all the total measures, you cannot add denominators which are not based on the same unit together. You can't add energy, kilowatts, man hours, fabrics of material, name it. You have to value all your inputs and you divide into total output. I want to add this. We need to appreciate the business of productivity is important for the following reasons. Number one, to be able to gauge improvement over time is why we measure productivity. So improvement over time, so that you are able to say, last year, my labor productivity was 2 units per labor hour. This year, it is 3 units per labor hour. So I'm growing, I'm improving. So number one, productivity helps us to be able to measure improvement over time. Number two, productivity enables us to compare ourselves with similar industries so that we can know why we are not competitive. Simple. Because we may be using a lot of labor compared to our competitors. So productivity is definitely important. Productivity may be number 3 useful to gauge the effectiveness of a certain intervention. For example, automating a certain automating a certain work center. Instead of using man hours, you use machines. You use robotic technology, and then you want to see what is the effect of reducing labor hours and combining with automation. Is the productivity going up or actually coming down? That is quite in order. You need to be able to appreciate that. So, for the sake of your notes, it's quite important that you document that. I've indicated why we probably need to carry on with the business of productivity. And we are simply saying, if I possibly recap quickly, I said number 1, you want to gauge improvement. That is why you calculate productivity. So that you can compare month to month or year to year. Number 2, you want to compare yourself against peers in the same industry, in the same country or across countries. Japan is known to be more productive than Kenya. Number 3, I said that you use productivity measure to gauge the effectiveness of a certain intervention, like introducing more technology in production process. So as it may improve productivity or not. I've given you this example. I want you to take a few minutes, like 2, to calculate labor productivity. Labor productivity. Then you can say your answers. Okay, the first answer. What is the answer?
20.
Okay, 20 units. 20 units per labor hour. I believe we are getting that. Some of us used money because you can use 500 labor hours, or you also use labor rate, which is 9 shillings per labor hour, meaning you get the 500 labor hours used, you multiply by 9. If you want to know, for every dollar of labor, what units am I going to produce? And out of that, you'll be able to get an answer. So in the next slide, the computations are there done for you. You can confirm the working there. What the second computation is doing is converting everything into dollars. So the output is in dollars. So the first one, the interpretation is very simple. For every labor hour we spent, we are able to produce 20 units. So as I said, you can now compare yourself with other peers, see whether they are doing 22, 25 per labor hour, and then you'll be able to know. And that is one reason why you can't beat them in the marketplace. Okay, as we wind up our lecture today, you need to appreciate this, which has been advanced by Michael Porter, who is a writer of strategy. That competition intensity is high when firms are equal in size, resources, products, and the services standardized, slow industry growth exponential. And so I've given you consequences on the other side. If you are running a farm and you consider it to be operating in an industry which has equal sizes of farms, it is up to you to invest in more capacity to grow it to be bigger, because price wars are going to be more if the farms are the same size, because the muscle is the same. So make yourself different by making yourself bigger than competitors. If resources, products, services are standardized, introduce new. That is why Safaricom introduced M-Pesa, so that people will not say calling is calling. Whether you call on Airtel, you call, when you send an SMS, everything is the same. Industry growth is exponential growth capacity to be able to benefit, like mobile phone handsets. That industry is growing quite fast, so it's up to you to be able to grow capacity, to be able to take advantage. And if you don't expand capacity, then you may not actually compete. So you are there to create entry barriers. And the way to create entry barriers from an operational standpoint, number one is economies of scale. You make sure that you create huge plants, which newcomers will not even have the money or the market to make them acquire big capacities. They will shy away. I'm saying in bullet 3 there, newcomers have insufficient orders to justify large capacities. And this will lead to high costs of doing business, so they cannot compete easily with you. Number 2, ensure that in the industry you're operating in, initial capital investment outlay is quite high, so that it is prohibitive. When I want to start, I know that I cannot make it because it requires a lot of money. Access to supply and distribution channels, you know the way Coca-Cola operates. They have their refrigerators. They have also Safaricom, M-Pesa engines, etc. And then learning curves. Companies in aerospace have created entry barriers through employing people for a long time, making them very experienced so that they don't make errors, they can speed up production quickly, and they're able to produce and deliver faster than your competitors. Learning is very critical when you are preserving learning within your organization. I think that said, I want to say, when you are running any operating system, James, you want to say something?
No, sir. I wanted to answer the question when you were calculating the productivity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you are sorted?
Yeah. The answer was the same. I just wanted to give the answer, 20.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
So as I wind up, it's good I introduce you to this quickly, objectives of productive system. So when you are running a productive system, you may have one of these objectives. Productive system, either you are running railway business, SGR. Let's use SGR as an example. An objective, one, volume of output. You are going to use to move the highest volume of cargo. Or costs. You are going to be the cheapest transporter because of the way you are managing materials, labor, delivery, scrap. Or you are going to ensure the labor you have is well utilized, labor and equipment. Or you have the best quality of service and you are reliable. Or you have an objective of ensuring you are on time in travel. Or the money the government has put in, you're going to get return on investment as quickly as possible. You need to realize this. It's not easy for one business to achieve all these objectives. Many businesses try to move with one or two, three objectives. And this leads us to this particular slide. How can objectives be pursued? You can use a traditional approach of trading off, where you pick one and you run with it. You can pick number two, plant within a plant, so that we have sub-plants which focus on different. There's one focusing on cost, there's another one focusing on delivery, and you can use advanced approaches. So for the purposes of our next lecture, this is probably where I would want to start, move quickly, say something about the principles, and then I can move on to the next lecture. Otherwise, I want to open up the floor for any comments, any suggestions, any information you may want from me, and then I definitely clarify. Thank you. Humphrey Wainaina.
Okay, good evening. I wanted to follow up on the missing mark. I forwarded the email, but I did not get a reply.
When did you forward the email?
It was on the day that you requested for me to send the email. So it was on Tuesday.
Last week.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me confirm tomorrow that you get an email, because I'll be in the office tomorrow.
Okay. Should I call maybe to remind you in case you're busy?
If you are sure you sent the email last Tuesday, I'll process all the emails which you have sent from last Tuesday up to today, the 1 week, when I'll be in the office tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody else? Muruga Morin. Maybe you are muted, Maureen.
I don't have a question. I was registering my attendance.
Okay, great. Can we call it a day then?
Okay.
Again, I sincerely
Yes.
apologize for starting the class late. I want to ensure that next time we are on time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.